Pavan Mehra shares this. One thing I continue to cherish from what he said about the key to one's drive, when living, loving and learning happens in the same place, that is when bliss happens. But, my dear friend, your Pavan is Professor Gupta's grandson. Pavan says, oh sab chodo, all of that is great, he can't beat me at football. So, it gives me absolute pleasure, sir, to welcome you on the stage. Today's session is important also because we will be also having a student moderator that will be part of this particular panel. Let me introduce you to 17-year-old Ninad. Unintentionally charismatic. He doesn't know, but he's just so charismatic. Happily agnostic and respectfully irreverent. So Ninad will also be a student moderator, so we're excited to start the session. Okay. Can I have the mic? Yes? So, first question. First question is for all of you before you became the CEOs and the recipients and all of that. First question, did you like going to school? Mic's in front of you, please, if you could receive. Did you like going to school? If you did, what made it memorable? If it didn't, what made it memorable? Please. It could start up with Shahid.
Sure. So for me, the question is, did you like going to schools? Because I was in 10 schools in 12 years. I think I liked school a lot. I think what I loved about school was just the ability to adapt to so many different cultures, so many different people. I was in 4 different school systems, so a lot of change, a lot of ideas. That's what I loved best about school.
Yeah, school was a great place. In fact, I had made wonderful friends at my very early age. We used to travel to school in a rickshaw, and she used to beat me a lot. And I can still remember the great camaraderie that we had. So that was one. And then I have also been in a school where we used to use a wooden slate, takti, and then we had to put a clay polish on it. Every day you have to clean and put a polish on it of clay. And then you have to write on it with the black ink. And you have to make your own ink. And you have to make your own pen. So that was the life in a small town of Kocha, where I studied. And they will use the same the wooden slate to teach you also. The teacher wanted that. He will use the same
multi-purpose.
Because my writing was very bad, and still is very bad. Sometimes I can't read it. So that's the life, but I don't miss. I mean, I still love it because that was the time when we used to sit on the ground, and because all of us came from very humble backgrounds. So it was a life which taught you about life.
I think I certainly like the schools. A to play and B to bunk the class. That's what I did with my entire school. This message will go outside.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody. Say don't tell.
Okay, just before we start up on the real meat of the conversation, one lesson that you learned at school that still stays with you. Oh, I like everybody's thinking, yeah, trigonometry to me. Quadratic equation, no?
I would say, I'm sure it will be true for Shaheen, and I'm sure also the debating, the public speaking. I started early at about age of 6 or 8, and I must say 6 or 8 plus, and I must say that that is a unique experience for kids to explore, express, sometimes impress, and make a point about what they believe in, and that gives that confidence that a kid has a student. Because I don't know whether I would have been able to make so much of impact in my class or otherwise if I hadn't done that. So a lot of fear that you have, and a lot of inhibitions that you have, a lot of timidity that you have, can really be overcome by encouraging kids to participate in public speaking.
I think I think I didn't realize it when I was in school, but thinking about it now, I think I learned about differences at school. And I learned about equity. I was in very, very privileged schools. And I saw kids my whole life, since I can remember, who just didn't have those kind of opportunities. And I think that huge contrast between what I had and what I felt kids didn't have formed a large part of what I was to do.
So I think in my case, my father was a very honest government officer. And the only punishment in those days used to come for honesty is that you are transferred again and again. So what happened is that I did my 9th standard from one school, 10th from another school. I studied in a convent till 5th. When I went to 6th standard in UP board, they used to say that at that particular time the English teaching used to start in the 6th standard.
Yeah.
So suddenly you go in the 6th standard after a convent school, and that's where they start talking about A for apple, B for ball. So it was certainly absolutely different for me. But I personally feel that that was the biggest thing in my life that became an asset, because I could spend time with all kinds of kids from different backgrounds. So today in my work, to be honest, that has really become a base. It's a real life experience of my childhood.
You know, what is actually maybe interesting, ironically maybe sad, is that all the lessons were not taught by a teacher maybe. It was taught by a space. And I'm wondering, for 15 years, we are with our children, we have the opportunity as teachers to be with our children. We need to really reevaluate what lessons we are teaching. And maybe that's really what is coming out, at least from the message that you've given us.
I have a lesson from a teacher. I had a zoology teacher. It was my favorite subject. And his name was Mr. Kachuba. And he used to play in a rock band, and he used to spend his summers looking after Siberian tigers. And I remember just believing that if I was ever to be a teacher, whoever I was going to be, that who I was in my real life really mattered. I think that's what struck me about him, and that was a huge life lesson. That I listened to him not because of the content of what he said, but because of the life that he lived, and that was really powerful.
I recall a teacher, Mr. Sharma, in 8th class. Every student had to take his notebook in English to the teacher. And every day, when my turn will come, he will cut the whole page. Everybody will laugh. And he tried, the whole year he tried to make me write from the key books, punjis, the hell books. And I would not do that. And since I didn't do that, the marks I got in my 11th class, at that time board exam or 11th class, the 2 subjects I got just passing marks for English and drawing. And I thought I was good in both the subjects. But he was trying to make me fit for the exam. He failed in his mission, but he made me to write the dictionary. I didn't want to copy. And he will not let me write on my own, because he realized that I will not get marks. So his message to the teacher is, that teacher tried to break my back in terms of my resolution. He couldn't do that, and I'm happy that he couldn't do that, but I lost marks, and it was very difficult for me to get admission in BSc then. My father abandoned me on the street after one college didn't admit me, and he said, look, you know in your life, I would not go with you to admit. So at the age of 15, I had to go out on my own and get admission in college. He wouldn't go with me, but he was so embarrassed by the marks. So I must say that there's a price to pay for being original or trying to be original. There's a price to pay. It's not easy. But those kids, I will appeal to teachers, those kids who have this fortitude, who have this ability to be themselves, please save their soul. You are a great savior of theirs. Those kids will otherwise not be able to struggle if they didn't get little support from them.
No, I think what you said, the price to pay, you have to pay a price for being original, but the price we pay for not being original is even larger.
That's right.
As a nation, as a people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so the first question. U.G. Krishnamurti has this to say. It is the happy man, not the idealist or the escapee, that is the revolutionary. I've personally known each of you to have a great sense of humor. Okay, you don't take yourselves too seriously. The work you do is of utmost seriousness and gravity. What do you attribute this mindset to? How do you stay optimistic, and how in education can we teach our children to be optimistic? Shani.
I will tell you, when I go to meet children, and I told Ninad that I was very disappointed children are not going to be there. Teachers are second best. So So I went to a school in Ardipur, near Kalol, the girls Vidyapeeth. They were at that time 23, now there are about 12 or 13 Vidyapeeths set up on Gandhi's pattern, where children from very interior villages are allowed to stay in their hostel and study. So I asked the girl in the assembly time, I said, ask me a question of which I don't know the answer. So one of the girls was very clever. She said, okay, tell me, why does a small red ant come when you put sugar on the shelf and the black ant comes when you put jaggery? Which is true. And I tell you, honestly speaking, I had no clue. I gave some answer that there are some chemicals which ants would like, and this was a tautological answer. There was no answer in it. I did something that day, but I came back and did research on it. And I'm telling you that those questions that one cannot answer are the real game for a teacher. So if you could encourage and admit, we confess that we don't know the answer, then I'll come back and do some homework and come back and tell you, I think that is the real education. But children love, sorry?
What's the answer?
You should do homework today. This is the homework of the day.
That's why he's optimistic about it.
You meet when you meet such kids who can question, who can challenge you, and who can ask those, and who are not afraid of asking questions with their think before.
Built herself one of our classrooms, and another child is very ill, and another teacher is in hospital, and they feel like your people and your family. I think that's what I find the most difficult, learning to be able to deal with that without getting sucked into that suffering. How do you develop that ability to really care and really empathize, but then also stay detached enough to be helpful and to be able to absorb it. And so I find the days that are difficult for me are the days when that pain seeps too deeply inside, and then I don't know what to do, and that feels very difficult.
It's a tough question. Very painful question actually. Yesterday, while going to office, I kissed my wife, and she said, I don't want to develop a habit. Because she knew that I might not do it every day. And she knows that for last 3 days, because I had given time to my students from 7:30 to 9:30 for walk and talk, to each student for 15-20 minutes. So I had not spent even 10 to 15 minutes in a day of 24 hours with her. So surely, for all these years, this constant neglect that she bears is a very serious pain. And I cannot even promise that I can use it. Every day it's going to be buts. Instead of 10 minutes, it's going to be 9, 8, 7, some days, but not. That's one pain which is very difficult. I don't think I can find a way of reducing it. I just don't have. But there's another pain that I have. And this is no less severe. You know, when I created Srishti Volunteer Organization 93, we thought we would create a new kind of human being. A new kind of human being who will seek happiness by changing the portfolio of the time he or she spends on private goods, common goods, and public goods. I always tell my friends, if you want to know how happy you are, find the ratio of the three. Very simple. Every day. The problem I get is when I find young people in whom I invest in time, my students, doctoral students, other students, and when they show timidity. They show timidity in sharing. Either their work, their ideas, their time, whatever, then I feel sad because I realize, my God, this was the purpose for which I was doing everything, that the time we spend for creating public goods should be maximum, common goods less than that, private goods should be minimum. But where are those kids? And I'm sure there are those kids, because otherwise the network would not work. I mean, there are such kids, those volunteers who help us to achieve extraordinary results everywhere. But I'm saying there are far fewer than I expected. Far fewer. So how to increase the time that we spend for creating public goods, non-excludable, non-rival consumption, non-subjectable, common goods which are available to a community, and that's a question. I must say I haven't a formula for dividing the right mix, but this is a pain, constant pain.
Now, on this stage with me, I did some rough calculations and I have more than a century of experience here. and all of you have devoted a lifetime and sustained a lot of pain. The question I wanted to know is, as much as this is inspiring, it is also daunting. Is it okay not to commit that lifetime of pain or of work to an idea or to a cause? Not to commit a lifetime. Not to.
Why?
Because in this new age, I mean, there are so many verticals rising. You want to change your career. Like, one day you see somebody do science, you want to do that. The next day you want to go into biology. The next day you want to...
We've been told 12
Yeah.
careers in a lifetime of this generation.
Yeah,
Not
so
even 12 jobs.
12 careers that on average people switch. So the whole concept of devoting a lifetime is something very abstract to me here. So I was wondering.
So, to be honest, it's not a career for us. That's the most important part. It's not at all a career for us. We're not going to get a degree out of it at the end of the day. And also, if you talk about idea, we are not devoting our life to a particular idea. I mean, you see how it goes on, how the things come out. I mean, from a school, in this Ahmedabad, the bigger idea, something which has come is this, for what all of us are sitting. We just started as a school, but because we were open to the ideas, you wanted to maybe experiment more, you wanted to involve more people, that's why this entire DFC concept came. So I think we are constantly evolving, we are constantly growing. So there is every day is a new day for us, to be honest. I mean, we don't get bored out of it because there is newness.
Because of this idea, she's getting younger. I'm not right.
No.
I love the perspective.
Yeah.
And I think evolution, everybody wants an evolution, right? Sometimes evolution seems from jumping from career to career. But I think if the evolution comes from the source of the idea, it becomes richer and deeper and more meaningful, and then therefore it doesn't seem as if it is jaded or stagnant. And I think somewhere the commitment is that, commitment and loyalty to the idea rather than a job. And I think that's really what is emerging. The other question we really wanted to ask you is this. We've heard a lot about Gandhiji's Be the Change, right? A lesser known, though equally important quote was, take care of the moment, Gandhiji said. So the only moment, I mean, for all of us, I mean, we can say we want to live 50 years or grow younger, but we only have right now. This breath is the only moment we have. How do we take care of this moment? How do you all, every single day, wake up and say, I'm taking care of the moment? So what can you teach us, or what can you share with the audience that says, take care of the moment?
Shahi, you have to
Don't take care. That's the answer.
Wow.
Just don't take care of the moment. Be there. When you say you take care, you are manager,
Yeah.
you are supervisor, you are boss. That moment is gone.
So be the moment.
Be the moment. And I can tell you that many times students ask me the same question. How do you get this energy, sir? We went recently to Bhutan. And that was the way we started to show the other course that I made. So, of course, students sometimes feel ashamed or embarrassed that they can't walk as well or they can't trek as well in the mountains. And I love mountains. So I said, look, first of all, you should remember that I don't do ever any job. I have fun and I get paid for it. Right? So if all your life you can be paid for having fun, why would you do a job? Why can you career for that? Huh?
And that's to say, oh my God, there was my banking job.
Have fun and be paid for it. And that's the way life should be. And that's only possible when the work, the life, the moment, all merge.
You said that. Life, love, and
Life, living, loving, and learning. And I want to live at the intersection of the three circles. And at no cost will I live anywhere else. Nobody can live and move out of that space. That's such a beautiful space. Every moment you grow. Because you learn. You learn because you love. And you learn because you love because you live. Live every moment. So I think that is the secret of not only energy all the time, but also a state of blissfulness. So that we never get tired. I don't know the meaning of the word boredom. I sometimes feel surprised when children say that.
yeah.
My God, boredom essentially means lack of interest. Right? If you are not,
So can you just say that twice?
the boredom is sign of disinterestedness. You are not interested in the moment. That is the converse of living in the moment. So if you want to find out whether you're living in the moment or not, ask yourself, was there a moment when you felt bored? If yes, you have not lived that moment.
Lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's so beautiful to hear you speak, but I think for me, I'm not good enough at that, living in the moment. I struggle with it. And I know that those times when I feel the happiest, the most fulfilled, are those times when I'm fully in the moment. Like I'm just with the person who I'm with, and my mind isn't wandering to the future or the past. But it's difficult for me to stay there. I think what helps me is just becoming more aware of that, because I really do believe that the only thing we have is this moment, and that this moment is going to determine the future. I believe that very strongly intellectually, and I think what helps is just reminding myself and creating that awareness. And because even now on the panel, there are times, and when it's so, especially since you introduced me as being a listener, I was so conscious of being fully listening, because I'm not going to get this time again. But even in this panel, I found myself, my mind wandering on what should I say, and does this make sense, and how do I link it, and I'm bringing myself back to the moment. So I think just a struggle for me right now still.
So I personally feel that you have to enjoy every moment, what the professor also said, and that's what I do. Also, the second important thing is that you can't have two faces.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the
Yes,
thing.
but they will show up.
Sure. I tell you, there was a phase, that's what I always tell people. Just because you've entered, if I talk about myself, just because you've entered in the social sector, which has different kind of expectations from people, that you should behave like this, you should behave like this. You can't operate like this. If once in 15 days in the evening I need rum with coke, I need rum with coke. Bottom swirling in 15 days. This is a visual thing. That's not simple. It has to be very simple. You have to simplify things in your life if you want to achieve something, if you want to do something well. You can't be complicated about things. You can't be like, if this person comes in front of me, I'll talk like this. If this person comes in front of me, I'll talk like this. This is something I don't know. That's not my way of operating. And that's why the life is simple. That's why we enjoy every single moment. There was a time when, especially when I used to come from, back from the rural India, remotes of Bihar, Orissa, Jharkhand and all the disaster affected areas, the moment you enter, in the airport, and after that when I used to come back home, for almost 2-3 days, I was absolutely silent. I was not reacting to the life. Because that used to be the shock, that used to be the contrast which you But then ultimately you find a purpose. In that contrast you find a purpose. You see that you exist because that contrast exists. So you have a purpose to take care of that contrast. Today it is not that painful, to be honest. Few years back it was very painful. Just because we started again living in the moment.
Anshusa, you talked about making it simple. And a lot of the things that we've struggled with ourselves at Riverside and personally is, where do you find a space for logic and for reason and for foresight in the work that you do? Because a lot of the things, looking at your life stories, it's been spontaneous. You've seen children do something, you've seen children, you've had that pinky moment, and you've just kind of done something spontaneously. Where do you find the space to be logical about what you're doing?
Life cannot be operated with the logic.
Say that twice.
So you need to be logical at various places, because you have to understand the situation and then operate. What is logic? Logic is something on which you keep working. Some mind is working, and then that mind proves that it is a logic. But I don't agree with that. I personally feel that this is how the solution has to be. It might not fit with the theory of the biggest thinker of this world. It might not.
This is very tough for Dinat to hear.
He has to, send him to do it for internship for 15 days. I make sure.
on the way, we had dialogue. And I said, what do you want to do? He said, I want to do physics. I said, all right. And what is physics? He said, subatomic particles. So I said, have you ever talked to electron? I said, what? I said, you know, electrons and neutrons have been on this earth far longer than we have been. Civilization is only 50,000 years old. So let's have a dialogue with a neutron. I said, what do neutrons do? So I was wondering for a minute. So I said, you know what? When we want to find out moisture under the ground, we use a neutron probe, we bombard the neutron particles, and the number of particles which rebound, we calculate how much water is there. He said, that's interesting. Then I asked him what Heisenberg principle is, uncertainty is. But very logical answer. I said, but tell me what would these particles think when the water refuses to accept them? They feel rejected. What is the feeling? What is the feeling of that neutron? And I'm sure he was completely confused as to why can this professor talk about feelings of neutron, but why can't they be feelings of neutron? They have been here for billions of years. They are much wiser than us, I suppose. No?
He doesn't believe that.
So I think the spontaneity that you rightly mentioned is the crux of the matter. Sahaj bhav is what Sahajta. Just being there and being on the spur of the moment, taking decisions, and more you can, and if you want to find out how spontaneous you are, at the end of the day, make a small balance sheet of 10 things that you remember, how many of them you did just on the spot. And if you didn't do anything, you probably need reformatting of your hard disk. You know?
And those particles have to reform.
Yes, because there is no way we can enjoy the moment if there is no spontaneity. It doesn't matter how foolish we may be at that moment, doesn't matter. And sometimes it's fun to be foolish. Ask your friend. I won't ask her name, but ask her. She will tell you, right as when you're foolish. Hasn't she told you that?
Many particles are not moving on. To have Nina not say something. Shani, what about you?
So I'm thinking a lot about with logic and spontaneity, and I personally believe that we could have got much further as a nation if we had thought about both at the same time. So the way I think about this is plan what you can and be as thoughtful as you can, be as logical as you can, and at the same time never forget to listen to your heart and be willing to be flexible and spontaneous on the way. So I think that's the way that I've tried to navigate the two. How do you hold the two together at the same time? How do you keep in mind the goal, but then really prioritize the process of getting there at the same time?
You know, I have a theory on logic actually. I often tell people that for many people, the logic is always for not doing something. You know, doers never look for a logic. Like many people come and say that, sir, we want to do this, but our parents are not aligned, our teachers are not doing this, we go to the slum, they don't want to study and all that. So I obviously ask one question just to take the clue from the professor. I often ask them that, do you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend? Most of the people say yes these days. And then you ask a very basic question that if you want to marry, what do? Do you live in between with a logic? Or you come to a logical end? So how can you say that I am not able to do this because this one is saying this? You have to have that passion. It's very simple. And all kind of illogical things you do to come to a logical end in that case.
Anything about what she would have said here?
The next question that we have.
We've been talking a lot about belief, and often all of you have gone against what most people believe. Either this is the belief of a good job, or this is a good life, or whatever that might have been the logical decision that you would have made. What is the one belief that each of you hold on to that most people disagree with? What is that? One. And any thoughts of whether, like for instance, Anshu might say that it really does that. I will hold on to it at the cost of everything. So what's the cost you might pay for a belief that you have that others, and especially people close to you, I can imagine people, you know, neighbors, etc., not believing, but has it been that you've held on very firmly to belief that maybe your really near loved ones might have disagreed?
So neighbors I am not worried because neighbors hardly know. That's a different thing. But I personally feel, because of maybe because of the background of the upbringing and the story which I just shared with you, the real life story, one thing which is very dear to me is the basic honesty. And it's very tough. It's extremely tough for us because if you talk about our work, our stories are emotional, but our work is hardcore logistics. And logistics is nothing but a very good amount of
Corruption.
no? So I think that has been a very tough journey. When you say no to bribe, when you say in every single step, because you work pan-India and the roads are the biggest source of corruption, right, to the local police, to anybody, to the borders and everything. But I think we have learned our way. We have learned that even the moment we pay a single penny, we are gone. And I think a lot of strength personally I have derived from my personal life, the way I have grown up, and many people in the group have grown up. That is something at any cost in my life I will stick with.
But has maybe had other things? I mean to say, yeah, Anshu, isme to thoda gheel do na.
No, I think Mini means Meenakshi, my wife, is talking about. I think she has been a big, not only the supporter, she has been the backbone. I think she is the only person who is there for last many years after leaving BTC and all, and she does not even take a single penny from home. But she's a full-time, silent backbone somewhere. And I do derive a lot of strength from her, to be honest.
First, a small response to what Anshu just said, because it reminded me of a quote I read in 1968. There was a mirror I used to have in my room in the hostel, which was broken. So I don't throw anything, I'm a waste character. So I kept the frame with me and put that quote up. And the quote was, and it is stated, every day I will read it. Fortitude is the capacity to say no when the world wants to hear yes. And I later discovered at that time internet was not there, so it was not easy to find where the quote is from. Many years later, 30, 40 years later, I discovered that this was my from. I married later, that all. And that fortitudinous capacity to be yourself and to be able to stand against all the tides of time and the pressures of those whom you love a lot, which sometimes can become a weakness, and to be able to stand up and say, look, that is the limit. Beyond that, then you lose, my belief. Wins and you lose. But more than that, let me give you an example. Hiranmaya is here. Many years ago, he came to invite me for a talk. So I went there. He was at that time a student in an IT school. So before I went, I asked him, look, I'm a Shylock, I want my pound of flesh. That's one of my fundamental beliefs, that I'm a Shylock. So he said, what do you need? I said, give me 5,000 projects, one put together. So he gave me 5,000 projects in 15 days. I said, no, I have to go. So I went there and he said, what next? I said, 10,000, 20,000, 100,000. Today we have in Techpedia.in 200,000 engineering projects done by 750,000 students. Without any permission from University Grants Commission, without any permission from AICTE, in fact in many cases without permission from the Vice Chancellor of those universities. It's very subversive work. But the subversive work has happened because we wanted no student of our country should do what has been done before. How do you ensure to put originality as a value in society? So you must have a database of what has been done before. India is a large country. So we started with this possibility. It looks crazy that you will be able to build a database of 1 million students who pass out from technology every year. You will be able to build a database, persuade each one of them to put their projects. Today, students from all colleges, NITs, IITs, small colleges, they all believe that yes, it is something useful because now students will find it very difficult to do something which has been done already. So to remove trivia out of our life, to be repetitive, to be just one more, to be a number, to be a commodity, is not what makes individuals what they are. So I am sure that in Riverside and through this movement that is one of the spirit that you are trying to propagate. And I really admire that spirit, that you can, no matter how small the action is. So once we had a student from Gandhinagar, a small college, Dhruv. All of you must be using refrigerator at your home. And you know that refrigerator also produces heat in the compressor. Is there any company in the world which has made a refrigerator which uses the heat of the compressor? No. Neither in US nor in Europe. Our Prime Minister is there. You should ask that question to Obama. Do you talk about saving energy? You want to reduce global warming? Refrigerators produce so much of heat. Have you ever thought about it? This boy, bro, put a heat exchanger around the compressor, took heat away, made a hot chamber on the refrigerator. Now you can keep your food warm. And because the compressor, the heat has been taken away, compressor has to work less, so it lasts longer and consume less energy. So you consume less energy and get more output. You get cold chamber and you get a hot chamber, and with 18% saving of energy. This is what Indian model of frugal innovation is all about.
It's like what ISRO just now done.
But I felt very sad, and I am going to name the paper, Times of India, had the temerity to call it Jugaad. Shame on it! Shame on it! Shame on it! When a leading newspaper of our country uses a term which is a mindset of adjustment, of adaptation to a problem, not getting over it, but going around it. That mindset will never let any society go forward. And this Jugaad mentality is what I will tell all of you. Please never, never, never fall for it. That is what has kept this country. We live with this, trash on the roads, no care for the elderly. All these problems are a result of a Jugaad mentality. When plug would not fit to the point, we give it a push. That is Jugaad. Or put a matchstick with a wire to put the two wires in the electrical connection. That is Jugaad. So I am firmly of the belief that never make this as a national culture or a value. Don't ever promote this value. This is a terrible mistake by a leading intellectual who has used this word to patronize written on the mark of the Jugaad. Shame, really shame. So it makes me very angry when I find you can see that. I just can't resist saying this because beliefs make a big difference to our worldview. If you believe in this, then no matter what you do, you will have edges on the machines, on the walls, on the sinks, where the sink will not be fitting with the wall. There will be a small space where dust will gather. You must have observed it, even in a 5-star hotel. Why can't we make that precision as a culture of our society? So if we want precision in us as a value for our culture, give me 1 minute more, I'll tell you some story. One student came to me, Abhinav, and he said, sir, I want to do a project. I said, all right. He came from Manchester. So I said, go and talk to welders. Because I am very cut up with the fact that in my institute, IMA, the fencing that we use, the grill that we use, iron grill, the welding has been done with a lot of material on each joint, and a lot of edges have been left unrounded. They get hurt. I don't like this. How can I go to my class to teach excellence when I go through a fence which is dirty, which is shabby? No, you can't teach excellence when you look around yourself and find mediocrity. You understand the point? As a teacher, it's a very painful thing because it haunts me. Then it haunts me, no? I can't concentrate in my class. So if I have to concentrate, then I have to find an answer. So he went and looked around and talked to welders. We had a meeting in faculty lounge, Wing 11, of these welders once he had done the study. And I asked them, why can't you make things precise? He said, you know what, sir? We measure things in inches, not in millimeters. So 2.54, the difference is already there. He said when people decide to give us orders, they will take 3 months to decide whether to order a grid or not. They want us to deliver it yesterday. We don't get time to this. They mentioned many things. What I'm saying is, it is not inherent in our culture that people cannot produce excellence. We have often in temples, we have often in mosques, we have Ahmedabad Pujari, we have Sayyid Pujari. It's beautiful, We have produced excellence for centuries, for millennia. Excellence is easy, mediocrity.
I think one thing I believe a lot in is vulnerability. Just being able to be who I am at this place in my life and having the people around me know that. So sitting on the panel right now, I feel okay with the audience getting inside my head and understanding that I'm thinking about all the questions that you're asking, and I'm hearing these two incredible men speak, and I'm feeling very small. No, I'm feeling, no, but really, and it's good. I think it's good for me. It makes me think a lot about, do I have enough conviction in some of the questions that you're asking? Why am I struggling? What's resonating with me? This idea of living in the moment. But for me, that's been a big part of my belief that it's okay. If I'm here right now, I'm here right now, and can I reach out to the people around me so that they know that this is where I am right now, and it's a journey.
I wanted to ask about compromise, because each of you talked very passionately about your beliefs and how you'd never give that up. But say you do compromise. So Anshu's always said that you'd never compromise on that right. But if you were to for any other thing, is that inherently bad if you compromise on your beliefs?
Yeah, I think so. Now it is a complicated question. Sure. I think it depends a lot on the situation out here. But in the life, the way, say, I think I personally operate, I can talk about myself only. I always tell people that you should know what you do not want to do or what you will not do, instead of saying what you will do. So, in any case, and a simple example is that when you even sit on the computer, try to work on the file and all, first of all you declutter, So I think that's how I operate. Also, we should have, to a very large extent, we should know that what are the negotiables in your life and what are the non-negotiables in your life. I think I am pretty clear about it as on date. Individually, family-wise, and also the work-wise. If I divide it in 2-3 parts. So that is the reason that the situation of compromise hardly comes. It's very simple. Because you have the conviction, you know that instead of compromising on certain things, you need to work hard, you need to work around to make sure that you don't compromise. Just because you know what are the negotiables and what are the non-negotiables. So we have been able to, till date we have been able to do that. And since you build up your own history, you build up your own records, you build up your own confidence in dealing with things in a certain manner, in future it becomes much easier for you to fight with any such situation. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, it's very, very similar. I think there's just something inside that tells me when something doesn't feel right. And those are the things that I just won't do. It's not worth it to me to go to sleep with something inside me that just doesn't feel right. It could be a very small thing, it could be a big thing, but just learning to listen more to what do I believe is okay for me to do and not okay for me to do, and then when I overstep that line, how can I reverse that? How can I apologize? How can I have greater awareness not to do that the next time? But there are very few things that I do in my life that feel like compromises.
And you should be brave enough to say no, and you should be humble enough to accept your mistake and say sorry. I think that's what, if you know these two things, the life again becomes very simple.
I will give an example of a compromise that I made sometimes and a compromise I had on this. last term, there were
So
eight.
they just use the money.
There were 8 students who violated a rule that I had in my class, which is that you should never put any statement in your work by cutting and pasting without quotation mark and citation. Many students do that, unfortunately. And I wish teachers will remember this, because inserting somebody else's thought in your work without proper citation, without proper quotation mark, is a crime. In academic world, it is a crime. So there were 8 students who committed this crime. I should have given them F grade, because that was a violation of the fundamental principle. I gave them D actually. Let them pass. With a promise from each one of them that they will never do that again. That was a compromise. I must admit. It is based on me, but I must admit honestly in a public place that was a compromise. But I will not compromise with. I give A grades to only those who teach me something new, which I didn't know. I will not compromise on this. Nobody can get A grade from me if they don't teach me something I didn't know. And that, I think, teachers should learn.
In fact, just this time we were looking at getting our exams done. We said the one thing that we've learned is that maps earlier on, very early on, used to be made by explorers that would venture out, and dangerous territory where explorers had not gone would be mapped with a dragon face. I say that that's danger territory, please don't go there. We were just talking to the children that it's only those who slay the dragons that have gone on to explore. So we're saying that any assessment is pretty much an endorsement or information to us about all the map that you were familiar with, the familiar destinations you've explored. But we will be offering you a map of slaying the dragon. One thing that you had no idea, but would you be brave enough to explore that and tell us that you know you can be those explorers? So in a way, take you from your cue. So I think we've come to a wonderful space where it's time, like in every chat show, to have a rapid fire. Okay, this is the fun part. Yeah, and Ninad has poured many long hours working on this rapid fire. So he'll have one question and I will have a question, and you can't think too long. Okay? Just whatever comes to your mind, you just have to say. Ninad, would you like to start with the first one?
Yeah, I'll start here. Between kindness and courage, which value do you value more?
Kindness.
So, how would you not want to be remembered?
Courage.
No. You also say. We all say the same. Yes. Oh, okay, kindness and courage. Let's get them all.
So, courage.
So kindness and courage. And you?
Correct.
Okay. How would you not like to be remembered?
As a non-doer.
Sir?
Somebody who ducked the question.
Someone who hurt people.
Sorry.
Someone who hurt people.
What is the one book you would save from a bonfire?
The Little Prince.
Magnificent obsession.
I think I'll act on this suggestion.
Okay. If a movie were made on you, who would you like to play you?
I would like to play my role.
No.
I'm not allowed.
You're watching it and then people are saying, "Arey yaar, kya lifetime." You have to be watching it. So who will be playing her role?
I don't know anybody.
Arey, Amitabh Bachchan is already taken.
Nasiruddin Shah.
Huh?
Nasiruddin Shah.
George Clooney.
Nasiruddin Shah? Nasiruddin Shah is close, or Wasim Arsi, that, what's the name? The young boy? Arshad Bhat. Okay, continue.
Yes. So her name is Priyanka. She's one of my kids.
What song is currently a mood song?
Mood song.
What? Yeah, right now.
No, what's playing?
Yeah, what's playing on your phone, iPod, whatever?
Like right now, the I Can song is there.
What song is playing on your iPhone or thing right now?
There's no song on my But I love songs, and I love music, and I love very sad songs.
Oh.
And I don't want to remind for you, but that's what I hear most when I'm alone and when I'm in pensive mood and I need to charge myself.
A sad song to charge yourself.
So, nothing on mobile and iPod, but all-time favorite is मैं जिंदगी का साथ निभाता चला. मैं जिंदगी का साथ निभाता चला गया, हर फिक्र को धुएं में उड़ाता चला गया.
You had this unique opportunity of inviting anybody you wanted for dinner, from history, from anybody. Two people, Shahid, you would invite for your dream dinner dates. Two.
I think I'd invite Bono from U2, and I think I'd invite Gandhiji.
I'll invite Sukumar Ray. How many of you know the name of who is Sukumar Ray? Some of you know that. He wrote a book called Kabul Kabul, where it is a book of absurd poetry. Every child will be taught that book. Absurd poetry, Kabul Kabul, father of Satyajit Ray. So I would like to have Sukumar Ray with me.
One.
And the second, I have to have two people. Meena Kumari.
Oh. Meena Kumari. Drama queen. Dukhi queen. Dukhi songs.
दुखी क्यों है अभी पता चला.
So, first is again Amitabh Bachchan. and my thing is very simple. I love all kind of useless fights. That's I'm too passionate about those movies where you see blood and all this. It's straight, but that's total action. And that too when the Ghoda and the the Dharmendra line. Also Amitabh Bachchan, because I personally feel that he's a very versatile person. I really want. How do you live?
Because
How do you live?
Action.
How do you live so many lives in one life?
Yeah.
And every single life is with so much of passion, with so much of dignity. How do you come out with so many bad things happen in life?
True hero.
True hero. And that's why I really want to spend some time with him. Second person who is no more is Kishore Kumar.
Kishore Kumar. One of the best singers in India. Yeah. Last question.
If you had one advice to give to the teachers here, what would it be?
Just one.
I normally say lage raho, but I personally feel lage raho with a bit of difference. When you really need to value their wisdom. You should not impose your learning your kids. I mean, Riverside is a good example, but when I see my kid and many kids in their best possible schools, somehow I feel so bad about it. Because unfortunately, don't mind it, but teaching also for many people have become a profession that if you do not get a job anywhere else, you become a teacher. So you can't build this country or the world with the help of certain frustrated people in life.
Yes.
It's very simple. Because as the saying is there that a mother spoils a child, a bad mother spoils a child, a bad teacher spoils a nation. So as teachers, there is so much of responsibility. You need to be so open. Please understand that if you ask a child to do a creative job, that child comes with a bad job, which is his own creativity. A child comes back with picture perfect job, that's something that the child has spent 200 rupees in the market and got it.
Yeah.
But still the 200 rupees one gets marks and this child is neglected. That's not done. In our time, when we were studying, at least this was not there. This was certainly not there. The rawness of the kid was valued more than the perfect kid. It was not that only 10 kids are in the school who will excel in everything, who will get chance in dance also, drama also, karate also, everything. It never used to operate like that. I think that system has to come back. We need to value the wisdom, we need to give a lot of freedom to the kids to operate. In my childhood, I tell you this, I'll just take 1 minute. It is important for me. Because as I was telling you that I was shifting school to school. So 6 to 8, I studied in Saraswati Vidya Mandir, which is, people say, is a Jansangh school and all that. Although I never saw that. But the most beautiful part of those 3 years is that in my curriculum, Chandrasekhar Azad, Bhagat Singh used to be there instead of a foreign character somewhere. When I used to dream in the 8th standard, I used to dream myself in a park with big mustaches. No, that was Chandrasekhar Azad. That was Chandrasekhar Azad. That's how I have grown up. And that has added a lot of value in my life. I mean, look at the curriculum today. You know the temperature in Greece, you do not know the temperature in Srinagar. And if teachers are not understanding the gravity of these issues, it will never change. You have such huge voice, you need to raise a voice. You need to bring changes in the curriculum, not the politicians. It's you who practice, but before that you need to understand the value of it. More important is that you need to get into that learning curve, and then you need to fight for it, you need to raise a voice. That's very important, I'm telling you, because a lot of work by people like us who are sitting here is actually going waste. It's actually going waste because the ecosystem is not there. The ecosystem, if you really have to create, one of the major roles can be played by the teachers. Simple. So it's not one advice. It's a paragraph.
I would say that be nurturant towards level, be nurturant towards angular personalities. One child, Farid, asked me during our Shuryata in Nagin many years ago, "Sir, why do I have to excel in every subject? Can't I just do well in math and science?" And that question has not been answered to date. Why should a child perform well in every subject? Do we want to produce geniuses or averages? What kind of people want to produce in this country? And I think this is a challenge. That if there is a child who fails in 2 subjects and gets more than 75% or more, let's say 75% or more in 3 subjects, we should consider the child as a body of our attention. That child could decide early in life what is that excites him and what is that which he doesn't want to spend time on. This is not an easy decision, and if you could make it at an early age, if you could make it at an early age, we should celebrate it. So find a way of getting that. You should use your discretionary power and pass them in those 2 subjects where they fail. Use your discretionary power. And let them be getting a certificate of saying they have passed the 10th exam or 12th. You can't give a choice. But give them some board, find out a board in the world which will let you clear them even if they have failed in 3 subjects, but they have done outstandingly well in 2 subjects. So that's one thing that I want to see in my lifetime, if it can happen. Second thing is that our teachers can also do a great job in what I call as innovation clubs. We want everywhere innovation clubs to be set up. Our president is very keen in every central university IT to do 4 things: search, spread, celebrate innovations, and sense the unmet social needs. These 4 things must be done by every child. Every child. Spread a good idea, a creative idea, which I think through ICANN we're trying to do that in a wonderful manner. I think there are people from 24 countries here, which is a good testimony of spreading. Search, which you are also doing very well. Celebrate, which is what this whole function is about. And then one more thing, which is sensing the unmet social needs. You should have an appendix in the book. I saw that book, beautiful book. But next time, have an appendix in that book of unmet needs that our kids identify. To embarrass us, to make us ashamed that look, you live with this problem, we will not live with this problem anymore. And if every community around the world has kids going out and finding out those problems which must be solved here and now. The world will change much faster. So such spread, celebrate innovations and sense the unmet needs must become a mantra of our life.
I think mine is just love your kids. Like I found when I love anybody or anything, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Right? When you love them, you get to know them, you believe in them, you see their potential, and you're willing to do what it takes to reach that potential. So I think it's a big word, but it's really, really important that we love, especially the ones in our class who are the hardest for us to love.
I think it's a great note to kind of end our part, and I'd love to kind of open it up to the wonderful teachers sitting here. And I think in a way, a lot of the teachers that are sitting here are also teachers who recognize potential. Otherwise they wouldn't be at a celebration like this. They would probably be having exams somewhere else. So in a way, it's a testimony to the fact that people sitting here are believers. And I think for them to reach out to even further infect more people with the ideas is important. So much of the work that has happened here has been around dignity of what Anshu's work has been built on. Justice is what Sir's work has been built on. And equity has been the word that Shaheen has been deeply moved by. So there is a soul and there is a deep purpose by which actions, whether it's the moment, whether it is the choices that we make, the non-compromises that we do, are driven around. And I think the one thing that we teachers, the profession, for lack of any other better word that you choose, is that choice, that belief that every child has the ability to make the world a better place. There is no other reason to be in this. The biggest gift we can give our children is optimism, the fact that they have it in them to believe that they can make the world a better place. So I think on this note, if there are questions that we would like to ask this wonderful panel before we have, the way we've got food for thought and then food for our stomachs.
My question is Anshu sir. Sir, you talked about a wonderful thing that you need to have this kida. You are doing a phenomenal work with coach. You have a wonderful team. The kida that you have in you, how do you make sure that you inculcate in your team? Because I'm pretty much sure we have school leaders here, and who would want to understand that if you have that kida, how do you make sure you spread that kida in your team? That is a challenge for us.
I also spoke about that you should not have two faces. That's a very key thing in spreading that kida, spreading the germ. It's also about the feeling of we, it's also about that you are doing it, it's also about that I am not forever here. I mean, if I talk about 4 or 5 key things of Moon, we are about 180 plus full-time people, with about 11 offices now. And many of them, most of them, Sir has visited, the center of our, at least our Delhi center, and he will say that there is a feeling that people think that they are doing. It is the result. Mostly when we sit with the team, often, we only talk about certain achievements and certain problems. We do not talk about the processes, that how it is happening. I have just come back from Kashmir after 2 weeks there. But the first priority is that I immediately go and meet not only the team like us, but also the processing team which actually processes the material, which lifts the material, which loads the material. Because the material is our life in our work. That's where a connect happens. I think that's the most important thing, that you be so transparent with the team. The team knows everything. We do not have any secret, say, salary increments and all. Every month, the salary will, the list will be pasted on a particular board of people. That this is what is deducted, this is what is. The annual review happens in a public forum.
This is very important. I'm sure what you said just now is very important. Giving the password of my email account and known to my staff. There is no confidentiality. There is no confidential payment. There is no confidential document in my office. And I think what he's saying is of profound significance to have that much of openness in our life that there is nothing to be saved from others so that if they come to know, you will feel embarrassed. Why should we have like?
There is no separate cabin for us. There is no separate furniture, there is no separate computer, nothing like that. So the whole idea is that if I am there, fine, there is a computer which I am using. But if I am not there even for half an hour, 1 hour, I am gone out, anybody can sit there and use it. There is no meeting which happens closed door. These are tough decisions, but these are very important decisions to build up the team, and that is the reason I am able to travel almost 12-15 days a month. And fortunately, the organization, the idea is growing. So the credit does not go to me, the credit goes to the team. Because I am traveling, I am totally cut off. I mean, since morning I am here, I am not even seeing my phone that, except once or twice.
I think somewhere a lot of it is also built on what we are talking about, be the change. I think Gandhi said something very important. He said, moral authority is far superior than positional authority. The idea that moral authority is an idea of leading with what you said, transparency, dignity, justice, I think equity. I think if I were to just take back the words that you all have lived and in every purpose, if we can inculcate that in leadership styles or in the culture that we build in our teams, is that moral, where hierarchy is not where leadership happens. Hierarchy has nothing to do with leadership. It's the ability to have that competency that it revolves around. So, in a way, to build cultures of that, as you correctly said, very difficult. Because all of us love the power that comes with a certain space, and it gives us a certain larger candidate and all of those things. I think somewhere competency is really where leadership comes from. But yes.
And you know, any school in India especially, is the biggest example of that authoritative way of operating. The principal is so cut off. The principal only comes and delivers a talk, and if the principal wants to speak for 1 hour, the principal will speak for 1 hour. The children have to stand in that position itself. The closest person to the principal and the next principal, not even headmaster, is the receptionist of a school.
Teachers are terrorists.
Even teachers do not have access to the principal in that way. I mean, how? And then what about those 2,500 kids and their parents who are maybe, you know, must be leading the corporate or whatever sector? They become like this in front of a principal. There is no access, there is no communication. How will things change?
Just one last question that I have from Anil sir. Sir, what I understood that you were talking about the rawness of an idea whenever a kid has got it. We should always implement it. To be very true, on our campus we are caught up with maths, science, English, maths, and Hindi. These five. And Hindi. And generally speaking, there is no time that we can give to this, because the expectation of the culture that we live in is that my bacha should know good English, my bacha should be able to solve quadratic equations, my bacha should know what is a cell or a stem, my bacha should know how to write properly. How do you inculcate this kind of mindset in the parent body? Not just teachers, we can people can train. But how do you inculcate this thought processing in the parent? Because parents come with the mindset where they say, हमने जैसे schooling किया है, हमारे बच्चे भी वैसे schooling करेंगे. How do you do that?
Can you take more questions?
Yeah. Do we have any follow-up questions? If you can just be loud enough.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I just have a question for everybody actually. It was beautiful hearing out whatever the question was and our question was and everything very to the point. But at the same time, when you all must have been in a different stream altogether at a certain point of time in your life, and there was a switch to this kind of the hunger to do something and give it back to the society, and the turning point would have taken a 360-degree most probably, I'm assuming or presuming. But was there a catalyst, or was it self-motivated that made you do this or take a decision in this front? Or was there a catalyst who helped you out? Or was it something that must have happened to have that kind of a flick and then a change?
Okay, so if I'm understanding, are you asking about the defining moment? You're asking about how to look at parents and their expectations. Any other base questions? So we're looking at Does everybody need to have a defining moment to have this big change? And if there is one. Any other question, please?
As Sir was saying that he started speaking when he was in 8th or 6th. I mean, I do agree that we are training up children to speak from that. I mean, we are trying to make them think. I do agree, but do you think that in our days, like when I've done my schooling as probably in early 80s, there was no one to help me. Like I was doing everything on my own. Whatever is coming out is out of my own creativity. But what I have observed in my school and in my children also, the teachers and parents, we are just giving them everything ready-made. It's not just the platform we are providing. We are, we are actually, you know, it's not making them think. We are spoon-feeding them. So how do we come out of this situation?
Let me react to the questions that you have said. One is that I believe that the language in which we are born is the language in which our hard disk is formatted, and therefore that is stable. So language shapes the habit of thought. Language shapes the habit of thought. If you are born in a language culture, and if you denigrate it, if you don't build upon it, you will not be able to think through as profoundly as you should. तो मैं 4 शब्द हिंदी में बोलूँगा, फिर आगे ट्रांसलेट. व्यक्ति, विचार, व्यवहार और संस्कार. What we have talked about, what we just summarized. Individual, thought, practice, values. That is the way they go. Isn't it? Now in different language, you would say this in different ways. To me, this occurred in Hindi language, but it occurred in Hindi language, not in English. The beauty, the rhythm doesn't come out in English, isn't it? So there is a merit in thinking about ideas in one's own language, and we should encourage it. We should nurture it. Doesn't matter if we translate it later on. English is okay. I have no quarrel with English, but languages are the soul of a society, because society has to be pluralistic, diverse, accommodative, and each language culture in that sense is a seed of its own diversity. So therefore, we must maintain diversity. We must encourage children to talk about their language, should tell stories in their language sometimes, and then somebody translate it. So that language connectivity doesn't get lost. About the defining movement, I would just say that generally it happens from within rather than from outside. I don't want to take time, but I would say that yes, it happened to me too. And when I realized that there's a need to be fair in word when I was not in my life, that turned out to be what Maybe Network is. So in some sense, it could be either guilt or gratitude. Sometimes we are driven by guilt, sometimes by gratitude. I had a mix of both. Guilt about my conduct, gratitude about the people who had taught me. And both of them became the defining force, I would say. So, and the question about spoon feeding, I would just say that you are absolutely right. I have been to science congresses many times, and I find that a lot of children, actually they are not presenting their project. It is the project of the teachers and the parents. And shame that a country allows such a huge institutionalization of fraud, a bad culture that children are being taught at an early age that they can call something as their own when it is not their own. What can be worse than that? So this culture of buying projects, selling projects to children so that they can show off and get some credit. I mean, everybody here, also parents, please think for a minute when you find shortcuts for your children, what are you doing to them? You are teaching them a value that you are not aware, but you are actually teaching them a value. That it pays to mimic, it pays to copy, it pays to explain something that is not your own.
You download from Google, you have your own color printer at home, you pay 500 rupees for a project maker who are minting money like anything outside home. So even the parents are not involved, imagine.
Yeah.
In the creativity of the kid, even the parents are not involved. Leave apart the kid out there.
No, I think the process is more important. It doesn't matter. You mentioned earlier that when your time, if somebody brought a project which was not that beautiful, I like that day when you asked them to do something. What was the day? When you made us. when children made something from the waste and they made it on the spot, I think, that was good because you are forced to think.
Yes.
Doesn't matter how good your idea is, I don't care. But the fact that you were forced to think and solve a problem right there and then, I think that is the value which you should understand.
And I need to add on the defining moment. That's important because I personally feel that if you think for years, you never perform. You never do. Because this entire sir is sitting here, but I say publicly that all this business plan game. I often ask people that you talk about two people. One is Bill Gates and the second is Mohammed Yunus. One is the epitome of commercial part, one of the social part. Do you think that these two people ever made a business plan when they started thinking about their idea, or it was just again a kira or a passion? And once they got into it, after that they must have planned in whatever. Today, we even plan at how many minutes one person takes in sorting a plan. That's the implementation planning. That's not the idea planning. I mean, imagine people like us who come from the middle class families, and today you teach us making an Excel sheet, and you tell us that if you want to work on your dream, on your idea, on the right side of it, it is written that you need 25 lakh rupees. Am I mad? Can I ever take a risk?
No.
Can I really work on my passion?
Absolutely.
Today, in the age of 20, 25, 30, which is the most creative age of our time, most of us get into this entire weird cycle of taking a loan in the name of security to make my own house. That's what I often tell people. That means you become an employee of Citibank or HDFC Bank. Because ultimately you earn for paying the installments. So you are an employee of those banks in your most creative age. So you have to rethink about it. Do not plan so much that your entire life is spent in planning itself.
Absolutely right. I would say the secret of my life is imperfect beginnings. Because unless if you try to make beginning perfect, you will never start.
That's where the logic does not matter.
We are going to get you.
I think this comes, we have to close now because otherwise we will not get lunch and then you will not have a nice 1 hour to have lunch and meet up with each other. Even though we had a little sort of moment about how teaching can destroy nations, I really would like to end with an optimistic note about this profession. It is wonderful. I'd like to share, this is often a story I share because I heard it and it inspires me. 4 people sitting at a dinner table. There's a banker, there is a lawyer, there is a teacher, and there is a management executive. Yeah? And all of them talking about just how much they got in the latest increment. And oh Bonnie, how much did you get? I've just got this, and I've been able to buy this house, and I went for my annual holiday to Seychelles. What do you make? So she looks at them, she's a teacher. She's been a proud teacher for many years, and she looks at them and says, what do I make? I make my children curious every day. I make them apologize. I make them sit next to each other and be kind. I make them maybe read. I make them tell stories. I make a difference. What do you make? So I think on that note, a lot of you sitting right here are making a huge amount of difference. So I think just to be inspired continually, these stories will make a difference to us. I think we need to give a big round of applause to our wonderful tomorrow's masterclass is equally interesting but very, very different because it's about brave choices and hatke decisions and hatke ideas. We will be having Abhijat Joshi, who is the scriptwriter of India's biggest Hollywood and Bollywood hits, which is The Three Idiots, Munna Bhai series, and now PK. He will be on the panel. We will be having Arnab Chaudhary, who is a maverick filmmaker, probably made the first ever most wonderful animation film. And we will be having Javed Jafri, the original. He's probably the most multi-talented actor of his time. So a very interesting panel on brave choices. So thank you very much. You've been a fabulous audience.